The Deathworld Academy did not welcome new students. It measured how long they lasted. The facility hung in orbit above a red dwarf star, its outer hull scarred by impacts from tests that had gone wrong and species that had failed harder than expected. Inside, 100 survivors sat in silence, each the final proof that their world had tried and failed to kill them. They were the apex of the apex. Predators with evolutionary kill counts in the millions, warforms engineered by collapsing suns, organisms that had crawled out of toxic oceans and learned to hunt in vacuum. Every one of them had earned their seat. The doors opened. The human walked in late. He was smaller than most, softer than all. No armor, no visible weapons, no ceremonial scars. He wore a plain, Academy-issued jacket that had not yet been burned, sliced, or reinforced with bone. He squinted at the room, clearly trying to find a place to sit. The environmental systems hesitated, sensors adjusted. Threat matrices recalculated, nothing made sense. The instructor turned. It was a Varkesh overseer, a being designed by its species to command battlefields through fear alone. Its body was an arrangement of blades, limbs, and eyes that never blinked at the same time. "You are not on the roster," it said. The human checked a data slate. "I think I am." Logistics transfer, human, Earth. The word spread across the hall like a pathogen. Human. A species from a Class 9 death world that should not have produced a spacefaring civilization. Gravity too high. Disease load too dense. Psychological stressors constant and unresolved. Statistically unfit. The overseer paused. The Academy did not pause. Probability engines buried in the station's core spun harder than they had in centuries. The projected survival curve of the room bent downward. One of the students laughed. It was a creature whose species hunted by inducing heart failure through sound. The laugh rippled through the chamber, a weaponized mockery meant to test reflexes and dominance. The human flinched, then relaxed. "Is this the right room for orientation?" he asked. The overseer raised a limb. "Orientation is survival." The floor vanished. Gravity inverted, multiplied, and twisted into a configuration designed to collapse organs that were not perfectly adapted. The test had been used before. It had killed 12 students the first time it was deployed. The human screamed as he fell. So did several others. The difference was duration. One by one, bodies failed, internal structures ruptured, nervous systems overloaded. Evolutionary advantages turned into liabilities under forces they had never been designed to withstand. The human hit the field hard, bones strained, vision narrowed. Every breath felt like inhaling knives. He did not die. He lay there, shaking, lungs burning, heart hammering far past safe limits, still alive. Above, the overseer stared at the readings in disbelief. The human's vitals were catastrophic but stable. Pain indicators were off the scale, yet consciousness remained intact. "How?" the overseer demanded, not realizing it had spoken aloud. The human coughed. "I do not think my planet prepared me for this part." Around him, bodies floated lifelessly. The Academy logged fatalities. Then it logged an anomaly. The human rolled onto his side, wincing. "Is there a medical station, or is this one of those learn from the pain situations?" The overseer felt something unfamiliar tighten in its neural core, concern. The Deathworld Academy had lost students before. It had never lost certainty. And the human had just arrived. They moved the human to observation instead of medical. That decision alone killed 3 more students. The Academy's automated systems had already flagged him as unstable, not because he was failing, but because he was not behaving correctly. His pain response curves were wrong. His stress adaptation was wrong. His recovery slope did not match any known survival model. He should have been unconscious. He was sitting up. A translucent restraint field locked him to a bench overlooking the next testing chamber. Below, the remaining students were being repositioned by force corridors, dragged into formation regardless of limb count or mass. The human rubbed his wrists, grimacing. "So I passed, or did I break something?" No one answered him. The overseer stood behind a projection lattice, its sensory crown flickering as data streamed in faster than it could process. 97 survivors had entered the hall. 84 remained alive. That number was still falling. "Begin trial 2, the overseer ordered. The chamber below flooded with a chemical fog calibrated individually for each species. Neurotoxins, hallucinogens, fear amplifiers, memory disruptors, not lethal by themselves. Lethal when combined with stress and competition. The students reacted instantly. Some attacked, some fled. Some curled inward as their minds fractured under visions tailored to their worst evolutionary failures. The human leaned forward. "Oh," he said quietly. "This one is bad," the overseer turned. "You recognize the trial?" "No, the feeling," he swallowed. "That fog smells like a hospital." Like disinfectant and panic, sensors flickered. The fog composition did not match any human medical compound. The human's pupils dilated, his breathing quickened. Muscles tensed as if preparing for impact. Still restrained. "What are you experiencing?" the overseer demanded. The human hesitated. Pressure, noise, thoughts stacking on top of each other. Like everything is urgent and meaningless at the same time, below, a scaled war form tore its own cranial plate free, screaming at hallucinations no one else could see. The human flinched, then forced his gaze back to the chamber. "But," he added, "this is familiar." The overseer froze. "Explain. I grew up with this." "Not the fog, the feeling," he exhaled slowly, deliberately. "You lived long enough on my world. Something is always wrong. Bills, wars, illness, climate, expectations. You do not get a clean moment. You just learn to function while everything is on fire, the restraint field weakened by a fraction." The human did not notice. Below, the students were dying faster now. Their species had evolved for clarity under stress, for decisive action, for survival with purpose. The fog stripped purpose away. The human watched as one of the largest remaining survivors collapsed, paralyzed by indecision. "Why are they stopping?" he asked. "They are overwhelmed," the overseer replied. The human nodded slowly. "That tracks." A scream cut off abruptly. The academy registered another fatality. The human closed his eyes. For a moment, the overseer thought he was breaking. Then the human inhaled, steady and controlled, and opened them again. "Do you have a way to reduce the dosage?" he asked. "Not remove it, just bring it down a bit." "Enough that people can think again," the overseer stared. "You wish to aid competitors." "They are not competitors," the human said. "They are panicking. That is the point," the human grimaced. "Then your test is flawed." The statement triggered a cascade of alerts. The academy did not accept flaws. It adapted. Below, the fog thickened. The human's heart rate spiked, then stabilized. He leaned back against the bench, eyes open, jaw clenched, enduring memories the systems could not see. "I can stay like this for a while," he said quietly. "But they cannot." The overseer realized too late that the academy was no longer measuring survival. It was measuring tolerance for despair. And the human was setting the scale. The academy attempted correction, it always did. When anomalies appeared, protocols shifted, parameters tightened, and the environment became less forgiving. This approach had refined the trials for millennia. No species ever remained anomalous for long, the human did. Trial 3 was initiated without announcement. The observation bench dissolved, and the restraint field disengaged at the same instant the floor reconfigured. The human dropped into the chamber among the remaining students as gravity snapped back to a tolerable but punishing standard. He landed badly, knees buckling, palms scraping against scorched metal. He did not complain. Around him, the survivors reacted with instinctive hostility. Several turned at once, weapons forming from flesh or energy. They had learned a brutal truth over the last 2 trials. Where the human went, others died. "Wait," the human said, pushing himself upright. "I think we are supposed to do this part together." A projectile of condensed plasma burned past his head. He flinched, ducked, and raised his hands. "Okay," he added. "Not together, then." The chamber darkened. Light vanished, sound dampened, and spatial reference collapsed. The trial stripped away external threats and replaced them with isolation. A psychological labyrinth designed to unravel pack species and lone hunters alike. Each student was separated. The human found himself alone in a narrow corridor that stretched farther than his eyes could track. The walls pulsed faintly, responding to neural activity. A voice filled the space. It was his own. It listed failures, every missed opportunity, every regret, every moment he had not been enough. The Academy had scraped his mind with ruthless efficiency, assembling a catalog of weakness it believed would crush him quickly. His steps slowed, his shoulders slumped. Sensors registered rising distress. The Overseer watched closely. This was where most species ended, not in pain but in meaninglessness. The human stopped walking. He leaned forward, resting his hands on his knees, breathing hard. "Yeah," he muttered. "I know." The voice grew louder, sharper. Images followed, faces, places, moments that still hurt because they mattered. The human straightened. "Is that all you have?" he asked the empty corridor. The system escalated. The corridor narrowed. The air thickened. The voice shifted from accusation to certainty. "You will never succeed. You are insignificant. You will be forgotten." The human nodded. "Probably," he said. "Most of us are." The Overseer stiffened. Acceptance was not in the parameters. The human resumed walking. Every step hurt. The corridor fought him, adjusting incline and resistance, attempting to break momentum. He kept going. "This is the part people get wrong about my species," he said aloud, though no one had asked. "You think we need to believe we are special?" He stumbled, caught himself on the wall, and continued. "We do not." The corridor pulsed violently, cycling through memories faster, sharper, crueler. The human winced but did not stop. "We just need to believe tomorrow exists." Elsewhere in the chamber, other students collapsed. Without enemies to fight or instincts to follow, their minds turned inward and devoured themselves. The human reached the end of the corridor. There was no door, no reward, just a blank wall. He leaned his forehead against it and closed his eyes. "Okay," he whispered. "Now what?" The wall dissolved. The trial ended. The chamber lights returned, revealing only 14 survivors. The Overseer's data streams flooded with contradictions. The human had not resisted the trial. He had absorbed it. As the human straightened, rubbing his eyes, the Overseer understood the mistake. The Academy had been designed to test survival under extreme conditions. Humans were already living there. And the Academy was running out of ways to hurt him. The Academy convened an emergency council. It had not done so during a trial in over 3,000 cycles. 14 survivors remained in the chamber, scattered across scorched flooring and fractured test architecture. None moved. Even the most aggressive species had gone still, conserving strength, watching the human from the corners of their sensory ranges. The human noticed. "That is not a great look," he said, voice hoarse. "Just so we are clear," no one laughed. Above them, hidden beyond layers of reinforced alloy and probability shielding, the Council of Instructors argued in compressed bursts of thought and sound. This was no longer a matter of curriculum integrity. It was a matter of systemic risk. "He is not dominating," one Overseer signaled. "He is destabilizing." "Incorrect," another replied. "The system is destabilizing itself in response to him. He is accelerating fatalities. He is accelerating exposure." The distinction mattered. The Academy's purpose was not cruelty. It was selection. It sought those capable of enduring the worst the universe could produce, those who could function when everything else failed. The human was functioning too well. "Escalate to Trial 4, the High Overseer decided. "Full environment collapse." No moderation. This time there was hesitation. Trial 4 was not meant for mixed species cohorts. It was a final filter used sparingly, designed to simulate the slow death of a world, resource depletion, structural failure, environmental decay, no enemy, no clear objective, just time running out. The chamber transformed, light dimmed to a perpetual dusk. The air grew thin, cold and dry. Sections of the floor cracked and fell away into nothing. Distant systems failed with hollow metallic echoes. The survivors reacted immediately. Some began hoarding. Some staked territory. One attempted to eliminate others to reduce competition. The human sat down, hard. He pressed his palms into his eyes, then looked up at the failing ceiling. "Oh," he said. "This one." A nearby survivor snapped at him, bearing fangs lined with adaptive venom. "You will not outlast us here." The human nodded. "You might be right." He stood and began walking, not toward resources, but toward the others. "Listen," he said, raising his voice. "I do not think this test works the way you think it does." A projectile shattered against the wall near his head. He flinched, cursed it under his breath, and kept going. "This is not about winning," he continued. "It is about not falling apart while losing." Another system failed. The temperature dropped further. The human shrugged out of his jacket and wrapped it around a smaller, shivering survivor whose biochemistry was clearly failing faster than the rest. The gesture caused a ripple of confusion. "You weaken yourself," the creature rasped. "Yeah," the human said. "That happens." The overseers watched in silence as resource curves shifted in unexpected ways. Cooperation increased survival time. Stress indicators dropped marginally among clustered groups. Fatalities slowed. The Academy had not accounted for that. Hours passed. Then days measured by internal cycles rather than stars. One by one, survivors failed, some from exhaustion, some from cold, some from despair. The human aged visibly. His movements slowed. His hands shook when he tried to grip failing structures. Still, he helped where he could. When only 3 remained, the Academy's projections broke completely. None of the remaining species should have survived this long, especially not the human. When the second-to-last survivor collapsed, the human sat beside the body until it went still. He closed its eyes. The chamber went silent. Then the lights returned. The human blinked, disoriented, shielding his eyes. "So," he said softly, "did I pass, or is there another one of these?" The High Overseer felt something it had no classification for: fear, not of the human strength, but of what the Academy had just learned. The test had not broken him, it had revealed him. And there was one trial left. across the galaxy, ancient civilizations received data that contradicted everything they believed about survival. That strength failed, that dominance collapsed. That endurance was quieter than fear. On Earth, no one noticed. The human was returned without ceremony, without memory of how he arrived. He went back to work. Bills waited. The world remained broken, and tomorrow still existed. The Deathworld Academy updated its records for the first time in its history. Survivors, 100 species. 1 humans.